You know, considering this hit number one on Netflix's top 10 over the weekend, it seems like people will be talking about this one a lot. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're talking about a brand new Netflix release, I Care a Lot. Let me know in the comments before we begin what your thoughts on this movie were. If you already saw it, if you were excited for it, if you weren't planning on seeing it, let me know so we can discuss. Also, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like these Netflix reviews, as it helps the algorithm out, helps my channel out, and I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're new here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases, older films, hidden gems, and so much more on a near daily basis. But let's not waste any more time and let's talk about I Care a Lot. This stars Rosamund Pike as Marla Grayson, a crooked legal guardian who drains the savings of her elderly wards, and who meets her match when a woman she tries to swindle, played by Dianne Wiest, turns out to be more than she first appears. This is written and directed by Jay Blakeson, and this is his third feature film, and this is a totally original story with a lot of bite, containing a pretty sharp critique of the way the economic system everyone's trying to survive is set up. Pike's narration kicks things off and tells us about how you can't play by the rules and you have to lie and cheat your way to staying on top and be as ruthless as possible. And that she is, as she takes advantage of an exploitative system to make herself rich while ruining the lives of countless individuals. She'll collude with a doctor, played by Alicia Witt, who will recommend patients who have some small health issues but tend to be difficult to deal with, and the doctor will embellish the symptoms to a judge, played by Isaiah Whitlock Jr., and get him to believe that these people are so unwell that they need to be taken care of, and so they get placed in Marla's care as their legal guardian. And then she puts them in nursing homes, sells all their assets, and makes a profit, and it's all legal. It's a very fine-tuned setup, but it's also one you can't help but get mad over as you see it played out here, including in one early scene where she cons a man, played by Macon Blair, out of guardianship over his mother and places her in a nursing home and doesn't allow him to visit her. Because while maybe none of us have experienced this specific of a scenario ourselves, we know that stuff like this happens regularly in real life, and a light has been shining more on it, especially in the last few years. Those in power are people who lie and manipulate their way to the top. They have connections, and they will use all their influence to crush anyone who dares try to challenge their power, and they will completely flip the scenario to make themselves out to be the victims. There are plenty of people like Marla Grayson out there, and it's even acknowledged in one scene where a lawyer, played by Chris Messina, is sent in to try to get her to release Wiest's character, Jennifer Peterson, and he mentions how he's impressed by her tactics and how, and I'm paraphrasing here, how it's all part of the American dream or something to that effect. But he basically says it's completely normal. And due to the fact that there are plenty of people like Marla out there now, getting rich through clever schemes while countless people suffer, especially now in the middle of a pandemic, don't be surprised if you find this to be a bit of a frustrating experience, as Marla, despite the fact that she's terrible, is the person we're mainly following around here. And it's not always easy to get on board with a movie where the quote-unquote protagonist is a totally unlikable person, and here, Marla Grayson is not someone we're meant to root for. There are a few moments where you may feel bad for her, maybe later on in the movie, due to the circumstances, but it doesn't totally get you on her side. In fact, she's a pretty despicable person from start to finish who actively does terrible things throughout this movie. She's cold and calculating, she'll kick her feet up and vape as she listens to people beg and plead with her before she tells them she's uninterested in what they have to say unless they pay her exuberant amounts of money. It's absolutely horrible, and in fact, I'd say the main reason we're even interested in what Marla does is due to Rosamund Pike's performance. Despite Marla not being a great person, Pike is phenomenal, and this is probably her best performance since Gone Girl. You're still intrigued by what her next move is going to be, as she confidently trades foul-mouthed insults with others, habitually lies to others with a totally straight face, and you wonder if any of that's ever going to come back around to her. And it does, in the form of Peter Dinklage as Peterson's son, named Roman Lunyov, who's a former Russian mob boss, and he deeply cares for his mom. We get introduced to him around the 30-minute mark, and when that happens, I'd say that's when the film gets really interesting. Not that the first half hour was bad, but it's 30 straight minutes or so of Marla being an absolutely terrible person, and the film isn't asking us to feel sympathy for her whatsoever. So seeing her just doing her thing will make you mostly angry, while at best providing a few laughs along the way due to the dialogue. But when Dinklage gets introduced, now we get to have some actual stakes, and from there, it's a blast. The film doesn't exactly ask you to have sympathy for his character either, and he's viewed more as the antagonist in a way, kind of by default. But honestly, given that this is a guy who tries to exhaust all of his efforts without doing anything extreme at first to get his mom out of the nursing home because he legitimately cares about her, and we see him driven by those feelings, I was on his side, to be honest. If I had to choose, I would go with him. Even though he's this ruthless mob boss, and he's not technically someone we're supposed to like either, he really doesn't do much himself for most of the movie to really draw our ire the way Marla does. And to be fair, this also has to do with the fact that Dinklage is just an excellent actor himself, and when he's given material where he's allowed to be a character who's mostly domineering and in control of a situation, he's a lot of fun to watch, especially for his sarcastic sense of humor. Though, despite this being a dark comedy, his role is mostly serious here. And while this film is filled with a lot of despicable people, it actually becomes very entertaining once things get going. There are maybe a few slow moments here and there, but the film becomes this giant cat and mouse game between Marla and Roman as they try getting the better of one another, with neither of them backing down. And the film masterfully cranks up the tension and increases the stakes with each passing scene, and they'll go back and forth between taking things to the next level. And the film has you hooked the entire time. Even though these aren't necessarily the most sympathetic people we're following, it's their very expressive, larger than life demeanors that has you wonder what's going to happen the entire time, and that's thanks to two excellent performances here. The only other thing I'd say is, at 2 hours, it could have been a bit shorter. Like I said, the first half hour is just a lot of Marla being a sociopath, going totally unchecked, and as I said, there are also parts in the second half that feel like they're a bit slow. I think we could have told this in an hour and a half or so, but for the most part, this is an incredibly engaging and very funny thriller, and it leads to a finale that, while at first goes in one questionable direction, leads to what I felt was an ultimately satisfying conclusion. I thought this was a really solid, well-made thriller. While it's focused on terrible people being terrible people, it does use them to make a scathing critique of an exploitative system that has led people to the top at the expense of countless others. It's a very funny movie, it's consistently intriguing, and has you wondering what's coming next, thanks to two great performances from Rosamund Pike and Peter Dinklage, who make this actively engaging. It's on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely worth the watch. I Care a Lot gets an 8 out of 10. So let me know, did you see I Care a Lot, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it thrilling? Did you like any of these characters? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.